Much of Western medicine is spent dealing with disease symptoms. I had the opportunity to speak to a low-carb doctor who is managing disease through lifestyle.
All right.
Hey, Dr. Tony.
How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm happy to be alive. That's all.
Same here.
So what else do you need?
Exactly. I just had my head buried in this.
Oh man, get out of here with that. Yeah, that's right. That's it. Yeah, man. Feels like it's been like forever ago.
How long ago was it?
2017, I think. And
Okay.
in fact, one of the things I want to do is change the cover a little bit because I don't do a lot of grains and things like that. Back then, I was just trying to find a cute cover, but I wasn't really thoughtful. And I think to not confuse people, I'm going to definitely do that. So, But life's good, man. I'm just happy to preach this message, man.
Could you introduce yourself to the audience, just basically saying who you are, how old you are, what your occupation is, and what your mission is?
Absolutely. I'm a 55-year-old family and obesity doctor. I have a master's in nutrition and functional medicine. My journey as a family doctor was conventional. I basically tried to heal people by giving them medicines, procedures, and surgeries. I later learned that with all the training that if I focus on lifestyle, people can actually heal and recover and in many cases reverse chronic medical conditions. So I've really transitioned my practice to more of a metabolic practice where I focus on really doing anything to reduce insulin. Insulin chronically being secreted, hyperinsulinemia is how we describe it, can really lead to 70 to 80% of all chronic illnesses. So when I talk to patients, I say, let's focus on that. I know before you got to me, you focus on these other things, but if we focus on that, what happens is you can really get more return on investment. So since doing that, my entire practice has changed. The healing has begun, and people just last week before our recording, I took about 7 people off medicines in 1 week. Prior to that, I had gone 19 years before I started and taken maybe 2 people off medicine in 19 years. I've taken 7 off in 1 week. Wow. So people come and their hope is restored by taking this approach. So it's been wonderful, man. I can't imagine going back to the disease management doc I was.
Where is it that you practice?
I'm in the Chicagoland area. I practice on the south side of Chicago, and the south side of Chicago is very much a community of need. So Inglewood, one of the communities, have a life expectancy of 60 years, and then you go to Streeterville, downtown Chicago, and it has a life expectancy, literally a few miles away, 90 years. So it's a 30-year life expectancy gap, and most of it is they struggle for various reasons, but the resources that the people in Streeterville have are different than in Inglewood. So my goal is to narrow that gap as much as possible and meet people where they are. So it's a passion of mine, and since I've been blessed to have this gift of healthcare, my goal is to bring that to the table and help as many people as possible.
This is my friend Rick, and these pictures represent his stages of ulcerative colitis. In our lengthy chat, I asked Dr. Tony why a meat-based way of eating was able to cure Rick's incurable disease.
The nuts and seeds and grains can cause damage as they travel throughout your system. So although we've lived in a world where they say fiber, I would argue fiber is more irritating. It's also going to make you feel bloated, gassy, and I just think that's what fiber does. Now, so meat is actually easier on your digestive system. The other thing I love about that helping a person with colitis, we have to protect our tight junctions in our gastrointestinal tract, and those tight junctions are where we kind of allow things to get absorbed. People who have leaky guts and other types of conditions where the GI system is irritated are likely to have inflammation, likely to absorb things that can harm them. What I love about the keto diet, and this is where there's a little confusion, people say, well, isn't it important to protect your gastrointestinal tract with the fiber feeds the microbiome and the good bacteria? And the answer is, yeah, it is actually helpful if you look at it that way, because they do create these small chain fatty acids, which will then help to fix those tight junctions and heal. There's a big however. The question is is that the only way to do it? Can we do it without the fiber and all the things that you have to also live with? And the answer is yeah. And one of the small chain fatty acids that kind of created with a keto or carnivore diet is beta-hydroxybutyrate. And that same small chain fatty acid can give you the benefits that you need to heal your GI tract without worrying about the negative effects. And if a person's in front of me and they have irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis, any of that, and they've had success with a low-fat diet, have at it. But what I find is that most people do better on an animal-based diet when they're dealing with this, because they may shift their microbiome. And that's another thing. People think that your microbiome has to be a lot of different organisms, etc. Not necessarily. What if your microbiome is going to be less varied on a carnivore diet or a keto diet. And so, but that's still, if it's doing the job and healing you, it doesn't really matter. But there's one problem. If I change my microbiome where it's not like eating from the spectrum, then the microbiome that I have, although it's good for my ulcerative colitis or my irritable bowel, Crohn's, it may be better for that. But then the microbiome may not be good when I decide to eat that plant again. Like, so if I go and eat that plant that needs a certain microbiome to help process that plant, then it may irritate my stomach. So what I find is that people who move towards low-carb, keto, or carnivore, you find that many times they don't tolerate some of the foods they could. They really didn't tolerate it previously, but they really don't tolerate it because now their microbiome has shifted to a microbiome that's not really able to process the Brussels sprouts anymore. So they'll say, oh, is something wrong with my diet? No, you just need to stay away from Brussels sprouts. Or you eat the plants that you, like if you eat an avocado and it doesn't bother you, then eat the avocado. But your microbiome will probably be made in such a way that it can process that avocado. Some of this is anecdotal based on experience. Some of it is based on how we look at science. And you can look at the science of gut bacteria right now and kind of piece this together and understand it, but we do need to have more research to support it. But see, some people are so sick they can't wait. And I've seen too many people who have gut issues heal by doing low carb, keto, or carnivore. And the sicker they are with their ulcerative colitis, the more likely they're going to have to go all the way to carnivore. So for me, this is a no-brainer. And I just monitor the things in the blood that, am I worried about saturated fat and all those things that have been debunked? Well, I'll check the labs that make me comfortable that people are doing well. So instead of just doing a cholesterol and an LDL, I'll do a cholesterol particle sizes. I'll do something called the apoprotein B/A ratio. I'll do a fasting insulin. I'll do some of the non-traditional labs. And if I see overall their metabolic health is okay, then that gives us permission, me and the patient, to continue to move down that path. And because I know that the standards of care haven't caught up. I have a whole chapter in my Fix Your Diet, Fix Your Diabetes book that talks about fix your fear of fat, right? Well, that fear of fat is still exists in the mainstream. And although we're starting to see, like the Journal of the College of Cardiology saying saturated fat is not associated with heart disease, and it's actually protective against stroke, but that's not something the average doctor knows. So if you wait for another 10 years and all of those people who never got that information are not healing, we can't wait. So we have to push ahead and have people like me and yourself putting information out there in front of people. Then those people from the ground up get in front of doctors and say, hey, doc, this is what I want to try. Would you walk with me? I know this is not your thing, but would you at least, I need somebody to interpret the study. Walk with me as a coach to support what I'm doing. and then we'll learn together. That's the model we need, because it's going to take a minute before the
100%.
conventional folk catch up.
Is there a reason why someone could follow a carnivore or carnivore-ish diet and develop digestive issues?
I have not seen people follow carnivore diets and have a lot of problems, except when they deviate from the carnivore diet. So is it possible that as you're shifting your microbiome to one that favors carnivore, that could still be problematic? I have not seen that much, but I think it's possible. But I ask people that want to deviate, listen to your body and start to add back if you're interested in certain things. And if you tolerate those things, then you can stick with it. So I just think that every individual has to do their own little experiment. There is no, me and you, if we had the exact same diagnosis, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel, or whatever, I may respond to things differently. I think there's some, where you grew up, your ethnicity, your ancestors, what were they being fed? Some cultures tolerate grains more than others. So I think that that's why you have to do the experiment, because, that's why they have epigenetics. Your environment affects your genes. And I just think that if we blanket say you have to do it this way, that's when we run into trouble.